Hey everyone, it's your girl Nycci Nellis. I'm coming to you from Tony and Joe's. I mean, look at me right on the water. Do you hear that vibing music in the background? Because there's a big old boat over there and people are having a really good time. Also, if you don't know, $1 oysters at the bar at Tony and Joe's. Everybody should get in on it. It's a good deal. But I want to start with who I'm talking with today. So my guest is somebody I've known for a really long time. I actually know her from her champagne days. Her name is Jade Floyd, and she wrote this fabulous book called The Leadership Labyrinth. Now, she is now Senior Vice President at Bryson Gillette, where she works with leaders in investment firms and sports teams and corporate leaders. She helps craft strategic communications and impact-driven storytelling. She lands her clients in like the New York Times and Fortune and Milk and Global and Fortune Most Powerful Women. I mean, I think I need to hire Jade. But you know, before she was there, she worked at the Case Foundation, and she also teaches at GW's graduate school. And she actually picked up an honor where she was Washington Business Journal 40 Under 40 as well. But now we've got this book, The Leadership Labyrinth, Women Navigating Power and Purpose in a Changing World. It is out. It has a workbook in the back. Like if you're thinking of getting a business coach, I would read this book first. And I have a business coach, so this is not to diss on business coach, but this is an incredible guidebook to take you through what it takes to really be a leader and the women who are doing it. So I'm so excited. Sit back, get ready. Jade Floyd and I are going to take you through the Leadership Labyrinth. Okay, the Leadership Labyrinth. I'm talking with Jade Floyd. I'm so excited. Jade, thank you so much for joining me today.
Of
Now, we have known each other for a really long time. First, come here. Cheers.
Cheers to you.
Cheers.
Thank you for
to the
having
new book.
me.
Absolutely. I mean, really, what could be better being outside here at Tony and Joe's, like right on the water.
83 degrees.
I know, DC in July. Who knew? Wow. So before we get into your book, let's sort of talk about how you went from, you know, being with the Champagne Board where I first met you, and now you're, you know, doing interviews with C-suite women, but you're also doing so much more. Let's talk a little bit about your trajectory.
The journey of how I got to now. I have been rooted in Washington for 20 years. You and I met back in the days of the Champagne Bureau and the Center for Wine Origins, which were clients at an incredible agency that I was at. And over that time of 20 years, I had the privilege of working for Gene and Steve Case for a decade as their VP of Communications. They owned Early Mountain Vineyards, which is such an incredible Virginia vineyard. I hope everybody tries at some point in their life.
It isn't it? Well, but you were very helpful to them. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole, but they had Early Mountain Vineyard had very big plans as not just to be another vineyard in Virginia, but as to be a launch pad for Virginia products and Virginia goods and Virginia holistically, right?
And really putting the region, I mean, there was certainly the OGs of Virginia wine, right? King Family Vineyards and others that had been there and rooted for a number of years, but they really wanted to take Virginia and turn it into a marquee place. Think of what California is to the United States
I think
today.
Virginia is really there now.
Yeah,
I mean, I will be honest. You know,
Yeah.
over the last 20 plus years, I've interviewed winemakers from all over the world. But I mean, actually, most recently, I just had on Foodie and the Beast, Jen Anderson, who does Novella wines out of Virginia, out of Monticello. And, you know, it's just amazing the quality of the product that's coming out there now.
And the evolution, and Maryland wines too.
I just did Burnt Hill.
Okay.
Beautiful. I just had the winemaker and the family on the show. Well, on this show, and then I had the chef taste strain on Foodie and the Beast. Like I had to split it all up.
Well, your guests need to go there. Also, Westminster's a beautiful location as well.
That as well.
And my evolution, you know, working in the industry, working for an incredible, you know, entrepreneurs and investors here in Washington, and now I run, you know, Bryson Gillette with an incredible team of Bill Burton and Shira Levy Fine, who, we actually, Shira and I got started at the Champagne Bureau together.
Oh, isn't that crazy?
Right. And now we represent impact-driven brands across the U.S.
So what does that mean? Do you know what I mean? Like, sometimes I think, like, when I read your information, I was like, I understand what you're saying, but I don't really know what does it mean. Sometimes it's a little bit word salady.
Right. It is. It's brands that are trying to do good in the world. So you might be a corporation that has some form of impact baked into your ethos, whether it be through sustainability practices. It might be a sports team that is trying to integrate better storytelling and trying to tell the story of athletes and individuals that come through your portfolio of teams, right?
Okay.
It might be a advocacy organization that is fighting for an issue from healthcare to human rights, all the way down to transgender and LGBTQ rights. So I wake up every morning and I get to work for these brands that are doing some form of good in the world. And it was, for me, a very important part of my own leadership journey. I knew that I probably only have a decade to 15 years left in this workforce.
Okay.
And if I'm going to get up every day...
Wait, seriously?
I mean, ideally...
Oh, because you want to get out.
I want to
not because
retire.
You're gonna be, not because you're going to be pushed out.
No.
Girl, I'm just going to tell you something.
I want to retire.
Okay.
And my financial advisor says that is on track.
Okay,
but
good for you.
It's interesting, when I talked, with a number of women in this book, all of them are at the echelon of power, right? They're CEOs, they're entrepreneurs who've built great brands, they are on the leadership teams for leading companies, and all of them said, I may never retire. I may just pull back. I might work, a few hours a week.
Well, that's what
I
I
might
was
be
thinking.
on some boards.
I know. I feel like you jumped ahead. I guess what was it that you were doing that you were like, I don't. Because there's a lot of books out there about leadership. I mean, there's not as many women-led books out there. But I feel like right now we're at this kind of like moment in time where women in power are being louder and are standing up taller. And there's been a real change in conversation about women in leadership when it comes to, like, I always think about what Katie Couric said, right? Because somebody sort of called her out and was like, yeah, Katie Couric closed the door on my face. And Katie Couric was like, yeah, they only allowed one woman, and I was going to make sure it was going to be me. And if I'm going to get called out on that, I'll take it. But, today I think more women are realizing, or questioning, well, why is it only one woman? Why is it only one black woman, one Asian woman, one Jewish woman, one person with curls? Like, why do we have to round it out? Why can't there be 10 of us, right? So I'm sort of curious at what point you were, with all the things you were doing and the kind of brands you were working with, you were like, oh, I have a story idea here.
Yeah, absolutely. So I wrote this book with the thought that I had learned so many incredible...
No. That's the beauty of doing
That's
it
the beauty
online.
of doing this show live. I'm like, there's people walking by. I'm talking about things that, woo!
All right, so we had to take a quick break because there was some noise. We're hopefully going to make it through. That's what happens when you film outside, but it is so gorgeous outside. We really wanted to sort of take advantage of it. So we were talking about how you came up with the idea, given all the other things you were doing, to create this book.
Absolutely. So I was running a global communications firm. I was a mother of two. KM Zuhari, who is the dynamic leader who created the Estee Lauder Women's Initiatives, asked me one day, what are you doing with all these incredible interviews when you're sitting down with the folks of likes of Sylvia Earle and David Rubenstein and the founders of Georgetown Cupcake, and you're doing these one-on-one interviews with them. What do you do with all the lessons?
Okay, but what were you doing these interviews for?
Well, a lot of it was during my time working for Gene and Steve Case, coupled with my time working at another communications firm. And because I love to moderate and I do it well, people were constantly asking me, like, hey, can you bring out these conversations on stage? And so
it is
finally...
a skill. People don't realize, like, I think everybody thinks that they can do it.
No, you do it so well.
Well, I appreciate that. But I'm always amazed by people who, like there are a lot of good reporters who are great at teasing out a story and putting it on paper, but maybe don't know how to share themselves enough while they're interviewing a person, because you have to give a little to get a little.
It is. It's
right?
really intimate.
Yes.
And, I sat down, I made a list of who are the visionary women that have influenced me that either I've interviewed or that I'd like to interview. And I came up with a list of about 70 women.
Okay.
Of about 30 of them I had interviewed.
Great.
And I had the transcripts from those interviews. And then I had aspirational women that I hadn't yet been in their company and I didn't know them, but I knew I could get to them.
Right.
So that was the seed for the Leadership Labyrinth. And I asked...
But did you know it was going to be about leadership? Like, was that, like, did you know what you were going to be writing about?
I knew it was going to be about the journey of women, of how they got to now and the pitfalls that it took for them to get there, the ups, the downs, the challenges, the valleys, the peaks, all of that I wanted to be in one encompassing chapter on each woman. So I asked them each for 30 minutes. I sat down with them, I interviewed them, and I have 20 women featured in the book, 12 of whom are Washingtonians.
I know, which is amazing.
Yes, everyone from Susan Tynan, from Framebridge, who a lot of us have her incredible frames in our homes.
She's also a great story.
Amanda McClements from Salt and Sundry.
Another great story.
Shawanda Roundtree, who's an incredible litigator. Heather Higginbottom, who's the former Deputy Secretary of State and headed up J.P. Morgan's philanthropy and research and insights. So all of these dynamic women who I had the opportunity to, thankfully, many of them were already either dear friends or in my company, or I could easily ask them for a conduit to connect me with them. And I asked them all for 30 minutes, and I sat down with them just like you and I are doing.
Right.
And I asked them a series of questions, and I got to the core of who they were and how they applied that to their leadership journey. And each chapter is on a different woman and the lessons that she learned along the way.
Right. And what were you hoping, because you have a whole workbook at the end, and I think the way like the chapters sort of lead you through, like, to me, one of the things I found really compelling was that leadership really starts with service. And when you are a leader, you have to know that you are not a boss in charge of people. You are in service to the people you are employing.
The people that you're employing, the clients that you have, the customers that walk through your doors, the patrons that attend your, restaurants. You're in service in so many different ways in our life. I think about service of the many nonprofits that I serve on the board of here in DC. Fresh Farm Markets, which provides all of the farmers markets for DC, Maryland, and Virginia. I am chair of that board. That is an organization that I will serve for many more years. Sitar Art Center, another that provides arts education for women, so for young children throughout the region. And so I think of my own personal service comes from my mother. My mother, who was someone who did a lot of philanthropic work. She fundraised for a lot of organizations. She took me on a lot of trips with her as a young child. So I learned service from a very young age. And I have a 4- and 6-year-old, so I'm trying to instill that in them. But then when you think about the work that you're going to do in this world, doing something that's rooted in purpose, that's rooted in impact, that's rooted in service in some way, shape, or form is so important, because you get so much more out of that than you put into it.
Sure.
So you may be working for a philanthropic institution, you may be working for an advocacy organization, you may be working for a restaurant that is providing incredible food and nourishment to a community. All of it is in service to something that's greater than you.
Yes.
And I think it's really important to have that rooted in your ethos for the why you get up every day in the morning.
Well, and also sharing it with the people that you're working with, right? Making sure that they know that is part of the ethos. Like it's very easy to have philanthropic endeavors as a part of your give to charities, or, like I think of restaurants, they give gift cards, or, for example, Tony and Joe's Profish is a partner of Tony and Joe's. Every year for Chefs for Equality, they always give a substantial amount to Chefs for Equality. And that's a very generous gift that they give. And they also do that for DC Central Kitchen. I mean, they're very generous, but generosity is great and the community knows about it. But do the people who work here know about it, know why they do it, and how does that affect how they feel about their employer and what they do?
It's so true. And we know with this generation, especially of employers and young people, they want to work for a brand that is doing good.
Yes.
The research tells us that you're more likely to go to a brand because of those reasons. And so one of the things I learned from a lot of women in this book is that they were trying to cultivate an environment in their companies to ensure that their employees had opportunities for service. They had opportunities for professional development, but also we had some companies that were doing some form of pro bono where 10% of your time can maybe go back to a nonprofit or a charity. At our firm, Bryson Gillette, we actually give pro bono hours to nonprofits and to advocacy organizations that are changing the world.
Right.
And so I think you can do it in big and small ways. It doesn't have to be something where you're a B Corp and it's baked into your charter, right? Which is quite expensive. But it could be maybe there's 10% of your proceeds once a month that's going to a nonprofit.
Right.
Maybe your employees take a community day off where every employee goes to volunteer. So there's big and small ways that you can do it, and you can really ensure that your employees are a part of that process to say, well, hey guys, what do you think that we should be focusing on this season or this quarter?
Right. And I want to talk about something else that I read in the book about the ability to read the room, which I thought was so valuable because I think women are more intuitive, and there is a sort of spatial relation I know for me, I walk into the room, I can see what's happening. Does it feel
You could
tense?
read people.
Does it feel tense in here? Is there something going on? This is not a diss on my husband. There's plenty to diss about with him, but he does not read a room. It fascinates me. I'm like, do you not see what's going on here? He doesn't. And I think about the hospitality industry especially, but in any industry, taking the temperature when you walk in is so important. What did you hear from the women leaders that you talked to?
Well, a lot. But first I want to tell you about a temperature moment that I had with Stephen Starr. I was invited way back in the day when Late Diplomat opened. He was sitting next to us at a restaurant, and he literally told the staff, you need to turn down the temperature 2 degrees. The customer needs to have a warmer environment, a colder environment than what we're sitting in. And that, I was like, one, how do you know just 2 degrees? Like, why 2 degrees? But the fact that he was thinking about the customer and their comfort level in a restaurant that was to be opened, that really stuck with me. And I've gone to literally every restaurant that he has across the Eastern Seaboard.
Right.
But one thing that I learned from women throughout the book, Amanda, from Salt and Sundry, is someone who really taught me a lot about the customer experience. When you walk into Salt and Sundry and Union Market area, you are greeted in a way that makes you feel like you are coming home. They help you in a way that says, tell me a little bit about your space. Who are you trying to buy this gift for? What is it that you're trying to cultivate in the feeling for when you give this to someone?
Right.
Who's thinking of those things when you walk into a space? You're like, I don't know, I have 10 minutes, I need to spend $80 and this is what I need.
Right.
Can you find something for me? So I loved how she talked about during the pandemic when people were going through so many things in their own lives, their home was their sanctuary. It was their sacred space. And so her chapter is all about creating a sanctuary at home. Because for leaders, whether you be someone in the industry, in the restaurant industry, whether you be a Fortune 500 CEO, you need to create a sanctuary. So when you come home from the chaos of the day, from customers and patrons who have been, giving you a lot of different varying opinions on your product or your restaurant or your food, you need to be able to come home to that sanctuary. And so it's so important, not just the curated things that you have in your home, but also the moments that you're designing for when you're there. My mornings are spent journaling. They're spent making smoothies with my daughters. And when they get off into the car to go with my husband to school, I'm sitting down and I'm drinking Harney & Sons hot cinnamon spiced tea without fail every single morning. So creating those moments at home, but also creating that sanctuary was something that she taught me in her chapter.
Well, I think it's about setting the day, right? How are you setting your day for success? And everybody finds their own path to that. But I love that you have a morning routine that sets you up for success, which I think is what the point is, right? For that. I want to talk a little bit about, because I'm sure a lot of people who listen to this are like, well, yeah, it was easy for them. Do you know what I mean? Like, when you see some of the names of the people in here, you're kind of like, well, sure.
Of course, they can afford all of the help.
They can afford all that, right? You can have your little tea in the morning, but for people who want to be leaders or who want to rise to the top, it's scary.
It is.
So, and you and I were talking off air about opportunities and recognizing them when they're in front of you and taking advantage of them. And I think recognizing an opportunity when it happens is almost a talent. It is really hard to realize the gift and then to utilize it. I can think of a dozen times just sitting right here that a gift was presented in front of me. I was delighted to have it, and I did fuck all with it.
Yep.
I did not take advantage of the gift. I liked it, but I didn't know what to do with it. Do you know what I mean?
Because so much fear is rooted in, do I accept this? Do I move forward? Do I leave this role and go to another? Do I pivot? Do I open this new store? Do I open this new restaurant?
Right.
A dear friend, Lynne Warmer, who owns Decanter
who
Wines.
I adore.
She's extraordinary. I just interviewed her for a book talk that I did. And it's interesting because the next book that I write is going to be on women and wellness. And she's been a really great conduit for me on how I think about my own wellness. And she talks about that, how she opened up this new shop in Old Town, which just opened a couple of months ago. You should all go and check it out. But she's I remember talking to her about this 3 years ago, and she's like, I'm thinking about opening up this store. I don't know if it's the right move. And I was like, Michelle, not only should you do it, but can you come bring one to Maryland?
Well, she does have one on Capitol Hill.
She has one on the Hill. Yep. Now she has one in Virginia. I just need her to open one in Maryland. But the fact that she even took that leap, having, created Decanter a decade ago, and now opening up in a new market, in a new location, it was a leap of faith. It was a step that she took as an entrepreneur, and I am so proud of her because I see so many women who say, not me, not right now.
Right.
I have so much fear. I don't know if I can afford it. It's too much of a risk. And risk taking is really a big part of business. Gene Case taught me that. You have to take risk. You have to fail forward. But oftentimes we don't feel like we have the latitude to do that.
Well, I think failure is people are so afraid of failure. We all are, right? Whether we're like looking at our Instagram and being like, I only got 13 likes, or I did a pitch and they said no. All these little nicks of failure stack up, and I really do feel that you can go two ways with it. You can let it keep you down, or you can be like, okay, what's my pivot? What do I do next?
Exactly.
Right?
Susan Tynan from Framebridge, this was her exact story. She created Framebridge because she was so unhappy with the framing industry and the pricing structure and the quality of the materials. And so she said, I'm going to go and fix that. So she was already working for a startup here in Washington. She decided to launch Framebridge. She now has many dozens of stores across the United States. And almost everyone who's probably watching has either walked into a store, walked by it, or has a frame in their home.
Online, right.
Yeah. And so that was another example. She had a full-time job and she created that company. And she then went and launched and started with one store in Washington, and now several dozen stores later, she's created this global brand. And so I think finding mentors and individuals who can sit with you and say, like, here's how I did it. My path is my path, but I want to give you some of the lessons learned along the way, and finding that ride or die tribe. Who is that inner core crew who's going to check you?
So I always say I have a brain trust. Amanda has always been a part of my brain trust. We all got into the business at around the same time, and I've always had this core group of women and one gentleman.
You gotta let the men in sometimes.
Yeah. Who have always been a part of. We've all bounced off of each other, and that was a big part of the book about, having people who support you. But you mentioned mentors, and I know you've had several.
Yeah.
I think finding a mentor is really hard.
I
don't think it's easy. And I think a lot of people use the term and do not use it correctly. Do you know what I mean? So what would be your advice, especially after what you've learned? If you're looking to grow in your industry or just grow as a person, how do you connect with somebody and ask them to be your mentor?
Yes. Well, I would actually take it a step further. You and Amanda, you're friendtors.
Yes, we are. That's
You
true.
are two humans that have this connective tissue, but also you're able to bounce business ideas off. She's able to come to you and say, this is a business decision I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about opening up a new store. I'm thinking about moving into a new part of Union Market. I'm sure you guys have a lot of conversations like this, in addition to, here's what's going on with my family. Here's the fun things in travel. Here's the caregiving and like the challenge that I'm facing with aging parents.
Right.
You need those friendtors who are going to check you. They're going to provide kind of both sides of the coin that you should be thinking about, but also they're really good business advice.
Right.
I have friends like that who, are CEOs of institutions like Dale Pfeiffer, who's CEO of a philanthropic organization here in the region, Jane Sandeman from Brand Guild, Amelia Macon from Sunshine Sacks. Those are my dear friends who I'm able to talk to them a lot about business, but also we're able to talk about our kids. We're able to talk about the challenges we're having.
Well, because it's not in its own little funnel,
No,
right?
it's not.
It's interesting. My daughter, who is just starting out in PR, and she had to take a client out last night, and it was really her first one solo, and she was like, I just didn't know where the line was between sharing too much, asking too invasive questions, and I was like, there's no such thing. I was like, you either become friends, become business associates, or you're boring. Like, you have to share yourself and have an active interest in the person you were sitting with.
And the authenticity.
Absolutely.
I want to know that I can connect with you on some plane.
Right.
Right? It might be up
Somewhere.
here, it might be down here, right? But I need to be able to connect with you. I need to be able to tie in some part of your life into mine, or something that I've learned about a part of your life that I think is really interesting. So I think doing the research on the person is really important. But in Washington, things can be so transactional, right?
Yes.
It's like, what's your title? What do you do? Where do you live? What part of the city?
There are people, and I think this is anywhere, whether it's in New York and it's like, who's the hottest person walking in? Somebody's always looking like, are you the person I'm supposed to be talking to here in DC, in LA, in Chicago? Like, I think we've all been on both sides of that, and learning how to check yourself and be like, and I say this to all the young women who work for me, you never know who you're talking to.
No.
And they don't know who they're talking to. You could be their boss one day. You never know. You treat everybody the exact same way.
With care, with grace.
Yes.
That's important, not just in business, but in the classroom and how you engage with people when you first interact with them. Don't assume that that person is not worthy of your attention and your time. Every single person is. We're all humans. We all deserve each other's attention and time and grace. My father taught me, he was a great tipper. He was someone who would carry around $100 bills in his pocket, and he would just tip people in $100 bills. And I was always say, Dad, wow, that's like such a huge tip. And he goes, you never know if that person needs that $100. It doesn't mean a lot to me. It might mean a lot to them. And whether they do good or bad service, you don't know what's going on in their day. And I want to make sure that they're rewarded. So it was something that he taught me and instilled in me from a very young age. Yeah.
And thoughtful.
And also, I worked for an incredible president of an NFL team for many years. And she said that she would walk around the stadium and HQ every single morning, and she'd say hello to everyone. The janitor, the team that was stocking up the kitchen, the chefs, of course, like the leadership team and the coaches and all of her staff. She had over 300 employees. She walked every single morning. And she said that's because her parents one was a retired Air Force officer, the other worked in a casino. And she said, I always understood that the way you treat employees, the way you treat the wait staff at a restaurant, the way you treat the flight attendant on an airplane tells so much about an individual and who they are at their core.
More. Right. You just treat everybody well. Yeah. It really isn't that hard. But I do think it's a struggle. We don't have a ton of time, but I want to get to a couple other things. I want to talk about burnout because, especially with the women you interviewed, or you or me, I mean, we all do so much. We're mothers. Not everybody is, but we are mothers. And, I have multiple businesses that I do. You have multiple things that you were doing. And I thought it was an interesting component of the book because burnout is a real thing. So what did you learn from that?
Oh, I thought about this last night a lot, actually. Burnout is no longer a badge of honor. you being
I can't believe it was a badge of honor.
It
Who
was.
wants to burn out?
You know, when people say, I had 12 meetings today, back to back.
Oh, I can't stand that.
Or
if you want to tell me something,
I don't know.
Do you know what I think is really crazy?
Sorry for you.
When people say to me, I'm like, hey, how you doing? And they're like, I'm so busy. I'm like,
busy.
What does that mean? That doesn't tell me anything about you.
It makes me sad that you can't program time for yourself. You can't find time in the morning for 30 minutes for a workout or to journal. You can't find time to read a book in the evening. You can't find time to get away from your family and actually go hang out with your girlfriends or go make big business decisions.
Right.
You and your team can't find time to get away for a retreat and an opportunity to reset. That is not okay. Right. And so I think us as leaders and as managers need to actually intentionally tell our teams, you need to carve out that time. If you look at my calendar from 9 to 10 every day and from 5 to 6, it is blocked.
Good for
Hold. That is for me to check emails, get up to speed on what the heck I'm doing for the day, but also our nanny, she's departing. I need to transition into what's going to happen at the end of the day, what clients still might need something from me, my kids need things from me, my husband needs things from me.
Sure.
So burnout is no longer a badge of honor. Rest is your right. You cannot lead a team, you can't run a business, you can't launch a restaurant, you can't run an organization if you are running from an empty cup and you're not nourishing yourself as an individual.
And that does not include, not that there's anything wrong with binge watching a show.
Oh, yeah.
You have to find your time, but I also think it's very important to find some intention. You know, it's easy to zone out, but it's really better to build that in as part of it.
It has to be. It has to be baked in from day one. And I hope that my daughters see that. They see me going to the spa once a month to get a massage. They see me going out a couple of times a month with my girlfriends and with my husband to go have date nights.
Yes.
So when we leave, I say, Mom and Dad, we're going out. We're going on a date night. Or we're traveling. I travel a ton. My husband travels every 2 weeks. They're just like, all right, bye. Can you bring me something back?
Right.
They're just okay with it because they know that it's important that we all get time away.
I think that's the message, right? Let's talk a little bit in the book, because it doesn't look like a really big book, but there's a lot. It's so impactful. But I love in here, you have this workbook. Yes. Can we talk about what you wanted and why the workbook was so important to you? Because it's actually a terrific way to take all the lessons and apply it. It's almost like a business coach handbook.
It is.
Do you know what I mean? And business coaches cost a lot of money.
They do.
So talk me through it.
So behind every endeavor, every chapter, there are lessons learned. And then I want you to take those lessons learned towards the end of the book and you sit through about 30 or 40 pages of worksheets. You don't have to do the worksheets all at once. It might be maybe you have an extra couple of minutes, you're sitting waiting for a friend to come and have dinner, do that worksheet.
Right.
There are things on establish your life wheel and the season of life that you're in. You might be up on your health. You might be doing really well at closing clients. You might be launching a new brand or a new restaurant, but maybe you're not doing so well with your friendships and your connections. Maybe you might be struggling with your mental health. And so you kind of take stock at different points in your life of where am I on that life wheel and that trajectory. There's other sections of the book that talk about what do I want versus what do I deserve. Which
I got to be honest with you, I thought was really interesting because sometimes people have a lot of issues saying what they want. Do you know what I mean? Like getting to the granular of what you want. It's really easy to be like, oh, I just want more money, or oh, I want to be on TV, or I want this, or I want that. But that's vague.
Yes.
What do you want?
Why do you want it? I want more money coming in so that I can provide a quality environment for my young girls and ensure that they're nurtured at home.
Right.
I want to build a new restaurant across the river so that I can tap into the community and that I can root myself and give back in so many different ways. So take what I want. That's what I want, but I deserve. I deserve to make more so that I can cultivate a life for my daughters that gives them a thriving environment. I deserve to start a new brand or a restaurant across the river because I deserve to be into that community and be sharing my gifts and my food and my product with those people. So reframing I want versus I deserve That's something that you do in the book, and I want you to write down my wants, and then I want you to write down why this is why I deserve it.
You know, there's a famous interview with Mike Wallace on 60 Minutes with Tina Turner, and this is when she's living in France, and she has this like ridiculous house, ridiculous. It looks like Versailles, and you know, she's so fantastic. But he says to her, it makes me angry every time I think of it. He says to her, "Do you think you deserve all this?" And she claps back and she's like, "I deserve all this and more." And I was like, yes.
Yes.
Who says who deserves what? That's so ridiculous.
It's what on you, on your own terms,
right?
And the quality of the life that you set for yourself. And I think some of it might be aspirational, but some of it might be, I worked my ass off for this. I deserve this.
Yes.
And I want to make an environment that I walk home into my sanctuary.
Also true. All right. On that note, we're going to rapid fire it for just a couple of minutes. Okay. One word to describe your leadership style.
I'm frank and I'm fierce.
What?
I'm frank and I'm fierce.
Frank and fierce. Okay, I love that. Okay. Best piece of advice anybody's ever given you.
You belong in every room you enter.
All right. And lastly, what's next for you?
Well, I'm working on a new book on women and wellness.
Okay, I love it.
I have this incredible company, Bryson Gillette. We are building out an incredible line of businesses that are doing good in the world, and I just want to continue to cultivate and grow that business and work with incredible people on a day-to-day basis. And I think the last thing is I'm going to do some travel.
Good.
This fall, I'm going to be in Paris and in Champagne again, in Cognac this fall, and really finding some time to reset and to relax. I'm going with my best friend of 25 years, Nicole. So that's going to be a real treat to be just back in France. I go every year and unwind for 10 days.
And you deserve
it.
And you deserve it.
I deserve this trip to France to unwind.
Absolutely.
Tell my husband.
Okay. I don't think we have to. I'm pretty sure he already knows.
You know.
All right. So our biggest takeaway from the Leadership Labyrinth is that leadership transcends industry, right? Like leadership is in every industry, and it's actually also how you lead your life. Whether you're a parent, you're in a relationship with your friends, how do you lead within the groups within your life? And I think this really tackles all of that because it provides so much perspective. So it's so delightful to sit here with Jade Floyd and to have these conversations today. It was such a good conversation. I want to thank you all for joining me on Industry tonight. Here we are sitting outside. We made it at Tony and Joe's. I didn't say this earlier. Jade does not like oysters. We're going to work on that with her. But we got some shrimp cocktail here. But at the bar, they do $1 oysters in and out at the bar, not the table, but at the bar. So you know, you heard it here. But remember, you can follow me at NYCCI NELLIS on all the platforms. This show is on YouTube, but you know you can download it on the podcast. Foodie and the Beast, 18 years every Sunday on WFED, and the listareyounit.com, the online e-zine that tells you everything happening in the DMV. Stay tuned on the Insta and the Talk because there's so much more going on. Thanks so much for joining me today.
Yes,
Thanks
you
so
all.
much.
Thank
Jade.
you so much.
Hey, it's Nycci Nellis. I'm in the kitchen at Tony and Joe's because they have $1 oysters at the bar. Dave Para, tell me all about it.
They are Naughty Boy oysters from Full Measure Oyster Company.
He just wanted to say naughty boy. Go ahead.
Well, I am a naughty boy. But yes, they're $1 happy hour, 4 to 7. You can even get a Peroni and a dozen oysters for $16, which is a really good deal.
That is an incredible deal. Okay, Max is here with us. Max, please do some oyster shucking. And Dave, can you talk us through what he's doing?
Yeah, sure. Well, he's putting it back in the hinge there. That's called the hinge. Pop that. Then you take the abductor muscle and you scoop that out. So boom, there you are. All that water in there is called the liquor. That's where that salty brine is.
That's where the best stuff is, right?
That's where the good stuff is.
Oh my God, Max is struggling. Okay.
No pressure, Max. See how deep the cup is? That's how
Yes.
you tell if they're farm raised. If they're wild caught, they're flat. And if they're farm raised, they're deep because they
What's
crumble
the
over.
benefit of farm versus wild?
Just because they hold more liquor.
Okay.
They're a deep cup holds more liquor.
All right,
Yep.
thank you, Max. Okay, Dave, are you ready?
Yeah, we're gonna cheersy.
We're gonna cheers these.
All right.
$1 oysters, naughty boys.
Naughty boys.
Tony and Joe's.
Slurp.
Produced by Heartcast Media.